Put your hand on a hot stove for 1 minute, and it will feel like an hour. Sit next to a beautiful girl for 1 hour, and it will feel like just a minute. This humorous example doesn't just explain the principle of relativity in a simple way. It also reveals a profound truth. Time is not absolute. It depends on how we experience it. 1 minute can feel like an eternity in suffering, but the same minute can vanish in the blink of an eye when we are immersed in joy. As Einstein once said, time is merely a persistent illusion. He wasn't just talking about physics, he was pointing to a deep truth about human life itself. In his theory of relativity, Einstein proved that time is not a fixed entity. It can stretch and contract depending on speed and gravity. Someone moving close to the speed of light experiences time more slowly than someone standing still. And in a place with strong gravity, time passes more slowly compared to a place with weaker gravity. But beyond the realm of science, the concept of time carries an even greater philosophical meaning. Time does not truly exist in the way we often think. Some moments last only a few seconds, yet they carve themselves so deeply into our memory that they stay with us forever. And then there are years that rush by so quickly that, when we look back, it feels as if they never truly existed. When you wait in pain, every minute drags on like an eternity. But when you are happy, even a whole year can pass in the blink of an eye. This shows us that time is not a fixed river flowing outside of us. It is a subjective experience that lives within us. Time is not just the numbers ticking on a clock. It is the way we feel it. So, what determines whether time feels fast or slow in our minds? The answer is the way we live. If you live a dull, repetitive life, where nothing stands out, time will slip away meaninglessly. But if you live with depth, with creativity, with meaningful experiences, you will feel as if you have lived long and fully, even if your actual years are few. That is why some people, though they only live a few decades, leave a mark so profound that it lasts for centuries. There are people who live for more than a century, and yet, when they leave this world, it seems as if they never truly lived a single memorable day. If time itself is an illusion, then what does it mean to waste time? It's not simply about sitting idly or doing nothing. Wasting time means drifting unconsciously through life without awareness, without purpose, without truly feeling the depth of each passing moment. On the other hand, when you live fully in every second, when you experience life with complete presence, you are, in a sense, stretching time. Not in the physical sense, but in the experiential sense. A short, meaningful moment can carry more weight, more value than an entire year of emptiness. When you live with purpose, your life feels infinitely long. But if you merely exist without truly living, even 100 years can pass like a blink of an eye. Einstein's words weren't just a statement of physics, they were also a way of thinking, a principle of creativity that shaped the greatest minds in history. We are often taught that logic is the foundation of intelligence, the tool to solve problems with precision and structure. And yes, logic is powerful, but Einstein understood something deeper. Logic can only take us down roads that already exist. Imagination, however, opens up new paths far beyond the limits of conventional thought. If we rely only on logic, humanity will forever walk the same old trails. Because logic works with what is already known, with rules and structures that already exist. But history's greatest breakthroughs never came from simply following the old rules. They came from breaking them. It was imagination that allowed Newton to see the law of gravity in a falling apple. It was imagination that allowed Einstein to picture light bending through the fabric of space, an image that gave birth to the theory of relativity. But let's be clear, imagination is not fantasy. It's not just vague dreams. It's a powerful tool that lets us see possibilities beyond the reach of logic. When you imagine, you don't just see reality as it is, you see reality as it could become. This is the common thread among the greatest scientists, the most brilliant artists, and the most profound thinkers of history. Their imagination reached far beyond the boundaries of the present moment. So why do most people get stuck in logic, unable to unlock imagination? Because our education systems, our societies, even our environments, train us to think within rigid patterns. We are taught that everything must have a right or wrong answer, that success comes from following formulas to reach the correct result. But in doing so, we kill creativity. We suppress imagination. And we close the very door that could lead us to breakthroughs. A child can see an entire world inside a blank sheet of paper. But as we grow older, all we see is just a blank sheet, nothing more. Einstein once said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." At first, it sounds simple. almost playful. But hidden in it is a profound truth. Fairy tales don't teach children rigid formulas. They teach them imagination, the ability to see the world from new perspectives. And that becomes the foundation for breakthrough ideas later in life. So, how do we train imagination without losing logic? The secret lies in keeping the mind open. Ask questions instead of accepting ready-made answers. Imagine multiple scenarios for one problem instead of seeking only one solution. And sometimes, think like a child free from the chains of rules and patterns. If logic is the road, imagination is the wings. Only when the two come together can we truly fly. Einstein emphasized this, 6:19, and it runs counter to what modern society often believes. Today, intelligence is measured by degrees, grades, or the ability to memorize facts. But here's the truth. The world changes every single day. What is true today may already be outdated tomorrow. Knowledge can give us an advantage, yes, but knowledge alone, without adaptability, will soon leave us behind. We see this lesson everywhere in history. The species that survived the longest were not the strongest. Dinosaurs were mighty, yet they vanished. Meanwhile, smaller, weaker creatures adapted and survived through Earth's harshest shifts. The same is true in human society. The individuals and organizations that adapt, those willing to change with circumstances, are always the ones who lead. But how do we build adaptability? First, we must accept that change is inevitable. People often fear change because we cling to stability, to the comfort of what feels familiar. But the truth is, nothing is ever stable. Life is constant movement, and those who resist change will eventually be left behind. The key is not to fight change, but to flow with it. Buddhism calls this impermanence, the understanding that everything changes, nothing is fixed. This is not a pessimistic philosophy. It is simply the truth. And once you understand it, you stop panicking when life throws challenges your way. Instead of clinging to the old, you learn to adjust, to reshape your mindset, to act with flexibility. Think about your own life. Those moments when you felt trapped or powerless, was it really because the situation was too hard? Or was it because you weren't yet ready to change? How many times have you stubbornly held on to the same path simply because you were afraid to try a new one? When you finally realize that adaptability matters more than knowledge, you begin to cultivate an open mind. A mind not confined by what it already knows, but one that is always willing to learn, to change, to evolve with every moment of life. Einstein was not a genius because he had more knowledge than anyone else. He was a genius because he never stopped asking questions, never stopped reshaping the way he looked at the world. When everyone else accepted that time was absolute, he thought differently. He questioned it. And from that questioning, he gave birth to the theory of relativity, a revolution in science. But that kind of breakthrough can only happen when you step outside of certainty, when you accept that there are things you don't yet know, that the world is far greater than anything you've ever imagined. So if you truly want to be intelligent, don't just accumulate knowledge. Learn how to change. When a problem arises, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, ask, "How can I adapt?" When you face failure, don't see it as the end. See it as an opportunity to adjust, to grow. Because in the end, it's not the smartest who win. It's the most flexible. Those who can turn every situation into a chance for transformation. Einstein once said, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind." This statement stirred a lot of controversy. But if we look deeper, it reveals a profound truth. For a long time, humanity has divided the world into two separate realms. Science, the domain of reason, evidence, and experimentation. And religion, the domain of faith, spirit, and the unmeasurable. These two paths appear to oppose each other, but do they really? Science searches for truth through observation, measurement, and verification. It relies on logic, demanding proof before accepting any claim. Religion, on the other hand, especially the deep philosophical traditions like Buddhism, does not rely on numbers or experiments. Instead, it turns inward, seeking truth through direct inner experience. At first glance, these paths look different, but in reality, they share the same goal: the discovery of truth, the exploration of reality itself. Einstein was a pure scientist, yet he never denied the value of religion. Of course, he did not believe in a traditional God, a personal creator who rules the universe as a separate being. Instead, he believed that the universe operates according to laws so profound and so mysterious that one might call them spiritual. For him, Awe in the face of the universe's beauty and harmony was itself a form of faith. Not blind faith, but reverence for an order far beyond human understanding. So, what role does religion play for science? Science gives us tools to explore the outer world. But religion, or more precisely, philosophy and meditation, gives us tools to explore the inner world. Buddhism, for instance, is not about blind belief. It is a method, an experiment of the mind. The Buddha never asked anyone to accept his words as truth. He encouraged people to observe, to experience, and to realize for themselves. And that, in fact, is the true spirit of science. Never accept something as true just because someone says so. Test it. Prove it through your own experience. If science and religion can actually complement each other, why then do people so often place them in opposition? The answer lies in misunderstanding from both sides. Modern science often rejects religion because it sees only rigid dogma, blind faith, and traditions based on myth rather than evidence. Meanwhile, many religious followers view science as a threat, fearing that if everything can be explained, then nothing sacred remains. But the truth is not so simple. As science advances, today, we are beginning to see more and more points of connection between ancient philosophy, religion, and modern science. Take quantum physics, for example. It is now approaching ideas that meditation masters have spoken of for thousands of years. That reality is not fixed. That consciousness can influence matter. That the self, the ego, is nothing more than an illusion. What was once only felt through meditation and intuition can now be described through the language of mathematics and physics. This does not mean that science is proving religion, nor that religion is proving science. It means both are moving toward the same destination, each traveling by a different path. So, what can we learn from this? That we should not be too quick to dismiss what we do not yet understand. A true scientist should not look down on spiritual values simply because they cannot yet be measured by today's tools. And a true spiritual practitioner should not reject science just because it does not fit their current beliefs. If the two can complement each other, humanity will gain a more complete picture of the universe and of ourselves. Einstein saw this. He didn't take sides. Instead, he chose to look at the world from a broader perspective, one where scientific curiosity and humility before the cosmos could coexist. And that is a lesson for all of us. Do not let labels or prejudice confine you. Keep your mind open. Because perhaps the truth does not live entirely within a single theory, but instead at the meeting point where seemingly opposite paths converge. Einstein also warned us with these words: "The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing." This is not just a warning. It is a raw, undeniable truth about how the world operates. We often think that injustice, cruelty, and corruption in society exist because of evil people. But the reality is different. If it were only a few villains, how could these wrongs continue for so long? The true reason is not that evil is too powerful. It is that the majority choose to remain still. They choose to ignore. They choose silence, even when they know something is wrong. History makes this clear. The most brutal regimes were never built by a single dictator. They were built because millions of people followed orders without question. Genocides, unjust wars, oppressive policies, none of these could have happened without the silent consent of the masses. We humans often tell ourselves that we are not involved, that the responsibility is not ours, that as long as we don't participate, our hands are clean. But the truth is different. When you remain silent in the face of injustice, you have already become part of it. And so, the question arises, why do people choose silence? Fear, avoidance of confrontation, the pressure of the crowd, and sometimes sheer indifference. This is why silence happens. Psychologists even have a term for it: the bystander effect. It describes a dangerous pattern in human behavior when someone witnesses an injustice but does nothing, thinking someone else will step in. But the truth is, most of the time, no one does. And so, the injustice continues. And it's not only in grand events of history, it happens in our daily lives. A person being bullied on the street, a coworker treated unfairly, a lie spreading through whispers and posts, while no one bothers to correct it. These moments are proof. The world is not only dangerous because of evil people, but also because of good people who choose to remain passive. But here's the painful part: when someone does dare to speak up, they are often punished for it. They are isolated, abandoned by the crowd, sometimes even attacked. That's the silent law of a society built on fear, where silence becomes the unwritten rule. And yet, history tells us something powerful. Every major change, every revolution of truth, every step forward always began with a minority who refused to stay silent. With individuals who chose courage over comfort, who risked being cast out just to speak the truth. Buddhism echoes this lesson, that our responsibility doesn't end with ourselves. We are also responsible for the world around us. To see injustice and do nothing is not innocence. It is karma. It is complicity. Because silence, in the face of wrong, is itself a quiet form of support for it. True wisdom, the wisdom of a sage, is not just cultivated for one's own enlightenment. It must also be used as a torch to illuminate the right path for others. Knowledge is not a privilege. It is a responsibility. If you have enough awareness to see the truth, but you choose to remain silent, allowing lies and injustice to devour the innocent, then your silence becomes a hidden alliance with what is wrong. Evil does not disappear on its own. It survives only when we continue to give it space. And the world will not become a better place if the people who can change it decide to stay quiet. Albert Einstein once said, "Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value." And maybe that is the greatest calling of all, not just to rise, but to rise in a way that makes the world rise with us. Einstein's words were not just advice, they were a wake-up call. A reminder for those of us who are endlessly chasing success while forgetting the deeper meaning of life. Success in society's eyes is often measured by money, fame, and status. But these things are temporary. They come and go. Sometimes they're earned through luck or even through questionable means. True value, however, is not about what you own. It's about what you create. It's about how you contribute to the world around you. Einstein never pursued fame. He wasn't interested in glittering titles or the applause of the public. He didn't chase after praise, awards, or recognition. What he pursued was truth, a deeper understanding of the universe, discoveries that could move humanity forward. And because of that, ironically, though he never sought success, he became one of the most influential figures in history. But what made him truly great wasn't the medals on his chest or the admiration of the world. It was the values he left behind, the theories that changed the way we understand reality, the ideas that inspired millions across generations. A person of value is simple. It's someone who doesn't live only for themselves. A scientist who devotes their life to expanding human knowledge is a person of value. A teacher who pours their heart into shaping the next generation is a person of value. Even an ordinary individual who chooses to help another in a moment of need is a person of value. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. What matters is, will you leave the world a little better than you found it? In Buddhist teachings, there is a guiding principle: benefit yourself, benefit others, benefit all beings. An action only becomes truly valuable when it goes beyond the self, when it uplifts those around us and, in some small way, eases the suffering of the world. If you act only for personal gain, without regard for the impact on others, that is not true success. That is just selfishness, dressed up in shiny clothes. But if what you do helps you grow, helps others improve, and contributes to reducing suffering in this world, then that is a value that endures. That is success that truly matters. So why do we chase success more than value? Because success is visible. It's easy to measure. People can see the money you make, the awards you receive, the followers you gather. But value is invisible. It cannot always be measured in numbers or trophies. A sincere word of kindness may be forgotten. A quiet act of help may never be recognized. And yet those are the very things that hold real power. Not the kind of success that fades, but the kind of value that lasts. It's often the smallest things, the ones that seem almost invisible, that carry the greatest power. A single word, a small gesture, a moment of kindness. These ripple out silently, shaping thoughts, emotions, and even the entire course of someone's life. Einstein was not a wealthy man. He wasn't a powerful politician. He wasn't a successful businessman. And yet, to this day, his name lives on. Not because of what he gained for himself, but because of the values he left behind. Values that changed the world. And the same truth applies to each of us. A meaningful life is not defined by what we receive, it's defined by what we give. Success may come and go, but value, true value, endures forever. Einstein didn't just leave behind groundbreaking scientific achievements. He left behind a way of thinking, a way of seeing reality differently, a way of reminding us that intelligence is not about memorizing facts, but about adapting reimagining, and never stopping the act of questioning. He didn't just speak of logic and imagination. He showed us that both must work together. He didn't just talk about science and religion. He revealed that two fields, so often seen as opposites, could in fact complement one another, expanding the horizons of human understanding. And he didn't just warn us about the presence of evil in the world. He reminded us that it is the silence of good people that allows evil to continue. Time itself may be relative, but true values, they are timeless. We may not be able to stretch time in the physical sense, but we can make our lives more meaningful. By living fully, by creating something lasting, by leaving behind values that outlive us. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you own. It doesn't matter how long you live. What matters is how you live, what you leave behind. Because in the end, what remains is not what we possessed, but what we gave. Not the number of years we had, but the way we lived within those years. Thank you for being here with us. If you found meaning in this message, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with those you care about. We wish you and your family peace, happiness, and health. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. And I'll leave you with two timeless words from Einstein himself. Logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will get you everywhere. And the measure of intelligence is not how much knowledge a person holds, but their ability to change and adapt.